I think we are in there.
Yes. What's up, peeps? It's Randy B.
Elsie's here. How you doing?
And we're smiling, but we're angry. We are angry and annoyed. We very rarely, I don't think we've ever talked on a Tuesday.
No, it was like I missed last week, so I was like, look, we're gonna break off cycle because there's some things to get to. There's three particular things on my mind. We can go in whatever order you choose, but it's
You
like
start. You hit it off. Hit it off.
all right, Joe Biden.
Yes.
Joe Biden. I think a lot of people are missing the point about Joe Biden in the sense that.
Oh, wait, let me save you and first say, because I'm telling you, they'll come after you. We are not voting for Trump. We know Joe Biden is the choice. We know Biden is way better than Trump. Okay, now you can talk, because I'm telling you, they're going to come at you.
They are, but you see, but that.
But that's
right
the point.
That right there is part of the larger problem.
Yes.
Because it's like, all right, you have somebody of Trump's caliber who, listen, at this point, if you've listened to me at all, if you've seen anything I've ever written, my stance on Donald Trump is very clear. It's very clear. But people like Joe Biden and the Democratic Party have taken black people's votes for granted for far too long. And it's frustrating because they know we're in a situation where we don't want to vote for the maniac that's currently in office. So they're not even fronting like they're putting forth an agenda. They're just like, hey, man, listen, you want to get this guy out, you got to vote for me. I don't think I presented any sort of platform that speaks to anything you guys care about, but I'm not Trump, so that's good enough. Because literally all Charlemagne asked Biden is, what is your platform for black people? Then his response was, look at my record. And it's like, but bro, if we look at your record, that crime bill is on your record. The crime bill that put a substantial amount of black people in jail for longer sentences than were previously known for such crimes. You can't just gloss over that just because you are in proximity to the first black president. You can't do that. You can't just pretend like these things didn't happen. And he's running into the same problem that Hillary had. Because, like, listen, when Hillary ran 4 years ago, people started bringing up the fact that, you know, she was another proponent of the crime bill, bringing up old speeches where she called black people in certain neighborhoods super predators, and just thought that just because, you know, I hit the dab and do the nay-nay with a couple of black people, we're just going to forget about all the other shit that you said over the course of like decades of you being in politics. And it's like, we know we need to get Trump out of there, but on the same token, it's like, that's why when people talk about a two-party system being bullshit, it's like, all right, so I got to vote for somebody who's not even pretending to have a platform for us just because I hate the other candidate that much. So it's like, now you're stuck here like, fuck, I know I got to vote for this motherfucker, but then on the same token, is he just banking on that without really any thought of, all right, so what am I actually going to do to support the people who literally, like black people, historically vote Democrat? And then you have to start to ask yourself realistically, what are we getting out of this blind allegiance? And the problem is, anytime you say something like that, you're like, oh, it's a vote for the other side. No, it's not a vote for the other side.
And that's what I'm saying. This is not an election where people are like split, like we're like on the fence, right? You know, but it doesn't mean that you can't hold somebody accountable and teach people how to treat you and to work for, you know, like it's, to me, it's like, okay, let's say you get married, right? And that person's who you're married to, it's done. Like we're done. We're going to do Biden. We are saying that, but it doesn't mean we can't say there aren't certain things that you have to do as my husband. I've taken you on as my partner, but there's still level of expectations, and I can check you when you're not acting accordingly. It is okay. I mean, I feel like sometimes black people are so scared. It means that to hold people accountable and to know that I need to act a certain way, or my constituents The people who vote, are voting me in will be upset, and I'm going to get a hard time from them. They shouldn't feel like whatever. That's easy. They shouldn't feel that way. We should hold people to a high standard, even if there are people, even if we're voting for them. It should be okay to say, "You're my guy. You have my vote. However, this is not acceptable what you did. This is not appropriate." And it seems like we just feel like if we love you, we can't ask any questions. And I honestly think that the root of that comes fear. I really do think that we're scared of holding people accountable, that everything will fall down. Because I don't think sometimes we understand our power because we haven't felt it, but we really do have a lot of power. People are dependent on us, and we need to use it and to make change and insist upon certain things.
It's funny because just recently too, even before the Biden incident, Diddy said on, I think, Instagram,
Ooh, yeah,
the black vote isn't free, and they killed him for it. They absolutely killed him for it, and I'm just like, yo, it's to your point about being like, why are people scared to say, hey, what are you doing for me? Because at the end of the day,
what are you doing for me?
These politicians are asking for your vote. It's not too much to ask them, what are you doing for me?
And to hold them accountable. And the thing is that's really interesting is that you guys know that another thing that it was fascinating to me is that people said, well, he was right in what he said. It's like, you're not black if you vote for Trump. And I was like, I couldn't believe people were like, well, it's okay if they say it if it's true. I'm like, the mentality, I was like, wow, we just really have I was like, if Obama had come out and said, well, white people are going to eventually, they're going to vote the dollar. I mean, like white people would have gone, he would have been off the ticket. It would, even if everyone was like, if you look statistically, people vote based on the economy. They vote based on this. There's no way he could have said that. So the fact that we feel like a white man should say what is or isn't black. We determine who comes to the cookout, right? And doesn't come to the cookout. Like, so I was like, wow, we just feel as if we have no power. And it honestly, I know I'm gonna make some people mad. It made me feel like, don't you say nothing bad about Master. Now, don't you say nothing, Randy. And I was like, it's okay, people, we can.
But like I saw a couple people saying like, obviously they're not. Some people weren't offended, by what he said. Just like, oh, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. I'm just like, but you have to look at the larger picture of the thing. Like, this isn't specific to Joe Biden. It's more so specific to it's more so specific to the idea that we owe a particular party our vote. Now, in the fucked up thing is, in the context of this election, it's kind of, when I say it's kind of a wash because we got to get Trump out of there. So like it's kind of a wash in that regard, but that doesn't change the overall conversation that Democrats should have to be held to some sort of standard to keep on feeling this entitled to our vote.
Right.
Because at this point, that's what it is. There's a sense of entitlement to our vote, but then when you really ask yourself, what are we getting out of this deal? And all right, if you say that's not a conversation for right now because of this upcoming election, fine. But at some point in time, you have to ask yourself that, like, what are we getting from a certain amount of allegiance to one part? And I'm not just saying this in regards to, like, black people and the Democrats. I could go to the other side, and when you see that, like, a lot of, like, working class white people are having like a blind allegiance to the Republican Party, they should also ask themselves, why are you having such an allegiance to a party when at the end of the day, they're not making policies for middle class and poor people? They're not. They're making policies for rich people to keep on getting rich. Listen, look at the pandemic right now, and look at the top 0.01% are the only people really getting richer during this time period. That's not you. That's not trickling down to any of us. So then why are you having such a blind allegiance to a group? So it applies to people on multiple sides. You need to ask Your elected officials, meaning they have to come to you to get your vote. You need to ask your elected officials, what are you doing for me? And for somebody of Biden's nature to say, then you ain't black, when I know for a fact you have instituted policies that have fucked up black people. Come on, bro. Like, come on, bro.
And I always just, I'm always advocating for black folks to recognize their power and hold people accountable in every relationship, in every single relationship. If it were my child, and this is what kills me, if it were my boy, my baby boy, and he said something that was not right, I would say to him, I'm for you, because that's my guy, but what he said wasn't right. And we need to be okay with doing that and not feel like the walls are going to come tumbling down if we say something that's not right. I mean that, we need to hold people accountable. So, and recognize our power. Speaking of power, I want to move on to, what's going on with this Cooper Central Park situation that has me fired up. And I want to talk about the way Black people get our power and what we do with it. The justice system has let us down from the very smallest of things, so, from the police departments all the way to the courthouses, right? And what I love is how Black people with Black Twitter and freaking videos have tried to find a way to get some of our power back. And this is what I mean, guys, about embracing the power. There are a bunch of people on Twitter talking about why are they always filming us? And I wish they could turn that question on themselves and say, why do Black people feel the need to film their interactions with white people now? Why have we gotten to the point that we feel the need to film when we interact with you guys? I mean, that's fucked up. We didn't just make this up. There's something going on that makes us feel like, let me film myself. One thing is that we are getting accosted oftentimes. And secondly, when we do, you guys never believe us. Even with film now, they're saying, well, we don't know what happened before that woman started filming. So again, I'm going back to like having our power, but let's just talk about the whole incident too. Oh, it's a segue.
You know how insane you have to be to threaten to call the police on someone asking you to follow the law? Like, do you know how insane you have to be to do that? Like, for people not sure what we're talking about, all right, Amy Cooper, white woman in New York who apparently I just saw she got fired or put on furlough.
Put on administrative leave.
Administrative leave, there we go. She got put on administrative leave from her job because she was out walking her dog without a leash, which can't do in New York. And the Black guy told her, like, yo, go put a leash on your dog, basically.
Please.
Yeah. Please. She threatens to call the police and then insinuate that she's being threatened by this guy. So he's threatening you by telling you to follow the law. And then your solution is to call the law on the guy telling you to follow the law.
Oh, she's like literally hysterical at the end. Like the acting was, but she was hysterical.
That is beyond me. Like, you're trying to call the law on someone asking you to follow the law, and then went from the same playbook. I'm fearful. I'm fearing for my life. I was threatened.
And kept saying he's African American.
That's always a safe way to get a Black person in trouble, is to say you were scared, regardless of anything else that's happening. If you just claim fear, then you just feel like, you know what, that is an easy out for whatever dumb shit I'm doing.
Well, two things, LC. If you claim fear and you say Black man, African American male, she purposefully kept saying, because she knew if she just said she was scared, that wouldn't get them there. But the minute, and this, I want people to understand how major that is. She knew if she said Black man, it was as lethal and as triggering as saying that there was a freaking bear in the park. Like, she knew that saying a Black male would get the police to react. And isn't that crazy in America, our country, right? That just saying Black male, all of a sudden that says threat, that says 911, that says emergency, that justifies her being scared, because we've been so trained to believe that Black people are scary. Here, this man is a bird watcher, a freaking bird watcher from Harvard, a Harvard University graduate. Not that that should have a damn thing to do with anything, but sadly, because you know that right now you have people trying to dig up to see if he cheated on a test at Harvard or something, right? They got to find something.
He plagiarized a paper or something.
Exactly.
Like
they're trying their hardest. But a bird watcher, like if you want to set up the perfect victim, like they talk about, he's it. But she somehow, this woman who is breaking the law, made herself the victim. I'm so disgusted. One, as a woman, because the way white women use victimhood as a weapon and get away with it all the time just diminishes when it really does happen and when we really are victims. And the fact that a Black man is just seen as always a criminal. The fact that we feel pressure to always tape our stuff because, we can't do shit.
You said something last video where you asked the question, if people got in trouble for things, would they do it less? And I said, yes, because there would be some type of consequence. And it's like, granted, this is not a situation. Her being on administrative leave is not some legal victory for us or something like that, but it still falls under the realm of there needs to be some real backlash for people who just take it upon themselves to paint these inaccurate pictures. Like there has to be some type of consequence. Like I'm glad that she's on leave right now. Like you shouldn't be allowed to make these claims and then just go about your life as if everything is okay. Because
and they do though.
Very differently for him. If this went very differently for him, then that would have been it. That would have been it. There would have been.
He could have been dead. Calling the police on him is the same, honestly, to me, as like calling for him to almost get killed. He could have been killed.
And the fact that you see it now, there hasn't been enough consequence for this, which is why calling the police is always the immediate go-to, because they know that I can do that and then basically just wash my hands of any culpability of what happened in this scenario.
And isn't it interesting to me that white women, or white people generally, feel like the police are their personal security system, and Black people are scared to call the police. The way, if you ever want to know if there's been bad treatment, just look at that. Black people, we will wait till the last. We don't want to call the police because we know that 99% of the time, no matter what, we're gonna somehow go down. It's somehow going to be our fault. But white people it is literally like they call the police like they personally work for them, because they do. Because what that woman did is the same thing as that white woman did with Emmett Till. It's the same behavior. It happens over and over again. And somebody needs to stop it, because Black men are being murdered. Even if this one happened to live, thank God, this Mr. Cooper happened to live. Again, I always have to go to the mental trauma that we have to put up with because of racism in this country. And, that woman came out with this soft ass apology. Apology made me even angrier, and saying this ruined her life. No, he didn't ruin you ruined your life. What I encourage all the time is, white people have got to take a look at themselves and ask themselves, why are Black people feeling like they have to film interactions with us? Why do I feel like I can call the police anytime something is upsetting to me? Like somebody says, I'm gonna tell daddy or something like that. Why do I wield that power and that threat all the time, as a tool to keep Black people in their place? And do I understand that that is white supremacy? You are evoking your power and thinking that you're more supreme than Black people. And they think it's a small incident. And the big thing that I'm telling you that I really try to talk about in my classes that annoys me, people think because they're polite, they're not racist. We've got to get rid of that. People saying, oh, because they apologized when they did something wrong, or they said please, that makes it not racist. Your ass is still racist when you exert white supremacy or are not fair to somebody. Being polite about your racism, just so you know, does not help. Okay, I do a PSA on that.
Oh, but you brought up the need to film. You brought up the need to film because that ties into even what happened to, I'm blanking on his name right now, but the guy who died in Minnesota.
Oh,
Where,
the brother. Oh my gosh.
yeah, where
All
he,
I see is it's him laying on that ground. I
where
know
this
his
guy's
face
literal, like this cop's literal knee is on this guy's neck.
for 6 minutes.
Tells him he can't breathe repeatedly, which we've heard and seen that before. Told him he can't breathe repeatedly. The guy ends up dying. Now I'm seeing that like 4 police officers were arrested, et cetera, et cetera. But once again, this is after the video comes out, and you can literally time how long this guy is like, all right, here's the thing. I don't know what the man did. I don't care. And the reason why I say I don't care is because even if this dude is some semblance of criminal or et cetera, when you're being detained, there's still a level of decorum that you're supposed to exhibit. And literally having your knee to the neck of a guy who's already on the fucking ground is not the decorum that you need. When somebody could put up a picture of the mass serial killer from the Colorado movie theater or Dylan Roof, and they can go into police custody after murdering dozens of people with not a scratch on them, it's not about the crime some person may or may not have committed. It's about what you've been trained to do. You're not trained to just beat up motherfuckers just because you can. And it's like, but that's literally what you do. You literally just and the reason why I'm pointing this out is because I know for a fact there's probably going to be something like, well, you don't know what that guy did. It doesn't matter what he did.
It doesn't matter what he did.
If you're detaining somebody for a crime they may or may not have committed, then just arrest them. You don't need to arrest me.
As you do white people all the time.
Asphalt outside. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. If you can safely detain mass murderers and bring them into police custody, you can detain anybody without fucking up their rights. I remember with Freddie Gray, when they brought Freddie Gray out and they literally had to drag him because regardless of what they say, his back was already fucked up before they put him in that van. You don't need to drag a man with a fucked up back into the van and then don't strap him to anything and let him bounce around in the damn van. Like, you don't need to do that regardless of what you think you're detaining him for. And that's the part that people seem to miss all the time. Like, I'm tired of hearing well, what did he do shit. I don't care. I don't care.
And that is the major problem, is that they try to find a way to justify killing us, like on the back end, or harassing us or abusing us. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, that is not your job to just go around killing people. I mean, he had his foot on that man's neck. Was it 6 minutes?
Yeah.
You can't see that person as a human, because I don't think they see us as, a lot of people see us as humans.
Like there's no need for this constant level of excessive force. But then, to loop it back to everybody's favorite person, Trump, I remember when he was on the campaign trail saying, I wish cops could get even dirtier. Like, hey, if you're putting them in a police car, let their head hit on the top of the car. I'm just like, see, those type of statements embolden people to feel like they can just run amok outside on the streets. And it's just like, no. You still have to treat people with a level of just basic human decency, which we don't get basic human decency, which, like I said, going back to Amy Cooper in the park, she called the cops on a man for telling her to follow the law.
Right. Right.
That's insane.
Right. But if you really want to get pissed off, go on to Twitter. And I mean, you have these people, after what they saw in the video, saying, but we don't know what happened before.
No,
the guy started taping.
The thing is though, and that's the new thing, right? Because before there was video, you can just always dispute anybody's tale of what happened, saying like, oh no, I'm sure it didn't happen that way. It didn't happen that way. Now, when presented with video proof of something, they can't argue with what they're looking at. So then they have to argue about the hypotheticals of what happened around that video. You can't attack that video anymore. So listen, let me attack the hypothetical. Yo, they did the same thing with Rodney King. Rodney King, they were talking about like, oh, he was being disruptive beforehand. All right, you know what? Let's say hypothetically, Rodney King was standing in the middle of the highway saying, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, doing all this other sort of stuff. By the time 4 of you are beating him down on the ground, it's over. You don't need to keep on beating him down. Like, you got it. You got it already. Everything after that is excessive. It doesn't matter what transpired beforehand. It's excessive at that point. So your whole idea of, well, you don't know what happened. Well, listen, I know what's happening right now, and enough time has elapsed in these videos to show you that there's nothing happening in this particular moment to justify these people's reactions.
But if it has been sold and believed for so long that Black people are always the aggressors and the bad guys, and white people, particularly white women, are always innocent and sweet and soft, then it seems like no matter what we have, we are seen as the bad guys. And I think why Black people oftentimes are really broken is because a lot of us believed that if we did everything right, the brother probably believed if I got good grades in high school, if I got good grades, here I am at Harvard University, probably the best, most lauded university in the world. I live a very good life to the point I am a bird watcher. Like, I mean, he is like, seriously, like, I am walking through Central Park, I'm a bird watcher, but still somehow I am seen as an aggressor, and still somehow I'm seen as a threat. And that is exhausting, because what I think America keeps telling Black people is you cannot out-earn, out-educate yourself. You cannot outwork. You cannot out-kiss ass. You cannot out-speak the best language. You cannot out anything, where at the end of the day, you are still seen as a threat or less than. And particularly if it's in a case of a white woman, she will always be seen as the victim. Like, it's very rare that I hear white people say that poor brother right there. Like, that they didn't see this guy, and he stayed calm, God bless him, throughout the entire incident. And the brother, I don't see how, and the brother with a foot on his neck that died. And, they see these things and how they don't say, oh my God, like how they don't react with the same empathy that we have for a human being is just beyond me. Because even when the people were seeing the video of the brother, everybody kept saying that poor dog. And I was like, okay, don't get me wrong, I'm a dog lover, I'm an animal lover, but that was the first thing that so many white people saw was the dog, and they were worried about her and that dog, and not worried about, had the police shown up, I mean, this guy could have been killed. Do you see what happens when the police get involved with a Black man? Do you see what happens? And for nothing, for a guy trying to bird watch, he could be killed. And the message that sends to every Black man out there.
It's funny when you're talking about the people see, because I recently saw this video. There was actually this white lady who was a cop, where she's like, I had my first Karen experience, where she was like, yeah, this lady like called me to her house because some kids were playing in this bouncy house. And I'm just like, and she was basically like, how sick do you got to be to call us because some kids are playing in a bouncy house? But it's like, I'm glad that you understand that, because that's literally what it's like to just sit around and saying like, hey, basic activities could get us in. What's his name? Jordan Clark? In Florida, that teenager who got shot in his car at the gas station because the guy didn't like how loud he was playing his music. Yes. There's literally like basic human activity can get you killed.
And that comes from, what I tell people is, white people have a feeling, whether they think they're racist or not, right? And what I'm saying is, I don't even think they're aware that they're feeling it, that America is theirs, and everybody else is a visitor or is on a pass, and they are the ones to pass out the passes of where we should be and if we should be there. But ultimately, if it comes down to our rights versus their inconvenience, like the woman yesterday, they feel as if it's ours. So we can shoot you, we can call the police, our personal security guard on our resorts, if you inconvenience me at my place. Forget, because Black people, Latino people, everybody else's rights are secondary to even them being inconvenienced. I don't like the music you're playing. I don't feel comfortable with you in my neighborhood. I don't feel comfortable with you going to the same school I'm in. I don't like you checking me about where my dog being off leash. This is our place, and let me call the security who will put me above you. I mean, that's just the way it is. I really don't feel like they feel as if we have the right. It's their place.
You know what I think. You know what I also think it is. You know, a lot of times too is because it's very rare that anybody, just anybody at all, will come out and explicitly say, I have certain biases. Because I feel like in a lot of ways, it's kind of even hard for people to really acknowledge the biases they may or may not have. So when they see certain videos, they're always quicker to identify with the person doing the fucked up shit in the video because they within themselves think to themselves, I wouldn't call police on somebody simply because they're black. So I see myself in this person, so I don't think that's what they're doing. But it's like, no, you're not acknowledging what you're really feeling right now. You're not acknowledging what you're really feeling because you're just the same way that I could be wearing a suit and get on an elevator and the first thing somebody does is clutch their purse. It's like, there's something innate going on that A, you're not willing to acknowledge, and then B, you're not willing to acknowledge in other people because you see yourself in that person. So you think, I wouldn't do that in that scenario. But it's like, no, acknowledge what you're really feeling and what you're really thinking, because let's break down what happened in that scenario. He asked you to follow the law, but you just so innately tensed up that, you know what? No, get away from me. I'm scared. No, you're none of those things.
You weren't scared.
You're none of those things. You just needed a reason to justify your just implicit thoughts about the person that's walking up to you.
Well, it's just, how dare he check me? This is my area. I'm telling you, it's ownership. I am superior to you. How dare you check me? And just the exact same thing is in place when white people are constantly, how people talk about the Karening, how white people feel as if, I'm going to tell you, you're not parked appropriately. You need to move your car. You shouldn't be in this neighborhood. You shouldn't. You're bothering my dog by singing "Happy Birthday" to your sister. I mean, there's always this. Where I live, I'll never forget. This guy was dating this woman up the street. White guy dating this white woman up the street, and he said to someone parked their car. He says, "Oh, we park our car on this side of the street in this neighborhood." First of all, this ain't your neighborhood. You're visiting. And two, guess who pays for this house right here? And I've had quite a few neighbors like try to say, like, as if they're chipping in on my mortgage, right? I'm like, this right here, this is my place. But they feel as if that they can tell me what is right and what behavior is wrong, because I believe, whether white people admit it, and that's what I'm saying, they've got to do work, that they feel as if they own it. There's ownership there more than it's ours. And that they're being kind when they allow us in, and they're bothered when they're inconvenienced. So that's why you see people getting checked about pools that they're in and having to explain, yes, I can jog, I live in this neighborhood, and they don't have to. And that's why I'm happy, as we'll end where we started this conversation. And y'all, hold people accountable. And holding people accountable doesn't mean you have to be screaming and angry. But that man, that brother in the park, he held that woman accountable, right? He said, I am deserving to be treated well. I'm deserving to bird watch and not have this dog run freely, run up on me. Even if the dog didn't run up on me, maybe he's afraid of dogs or whatever. I am allowed to do that, right? And let me handle it this way. And that's what I mean about holding people accountable, because we're held accountable. Lord knows our shoulders are heavy and bent because we are held to a very high standard. We all know that, you know, what Barack Obama had, and, you know, Michelle Obama said she cried for weeks after leaving the White House because the need to always feel perfect. And I feel that resonates with so many Black people, the need to feel perfect, and still we get criticized. it is okay for us to hold people accountable and to do it in a respectable way, but we got to do it.
And in regards to you talking about criticism, so before anybody criticizes me, before we leave this video, I'm going to make it perfectly clear. LC is not telling you to vote for Trump, because I know some people are going to get this fucked up. That's not what I'm telling you.
That was insane to me that people even jumped to that conclusion.
No, but see, anytime you question somebody, they immediately say that, oh, that's a vote for somebody else. No, I'm not voting for Donald Trump, and I'm not staying out of the election either. So that argument doesn't hold weight here. What I'm saying is, if someone is asking for your vote, it doesn't have to be Joe Biden. It could be anybody.
If someone's getting your vote.
If they're asking for your vote, you have every right to ask them, what are you doing for the benefit of me and mine? What are you doing to benefit? That's literally all Charlemagne asked him was, what is your platform for us? He didn't answer the question. He just said, look at my resume, and if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. That's not an answer. That's not an answer. That is actually a sense of entitlement. It is a sense of entitlement that, frankly, you haven't earned. Nobody's earned the right to say who is and who ain't black based on what, but especially not you, bro. Not you.
Yeah, we decide who comes to the cookout. But yeah, we decide who comes up to cookout, and we should have the right to do that.
Some cookout passes. We need to stop giving out so many cookouts.
Yeah, we need to stop giving out so many cookout passes, y'all. We got to talk about
people do the bare minimum, like, oh, they's invited to the cookout. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's not.
Or we got to talk, or we decide is what I'm saying. All right, guys, we just had a lot to talk about. We will check in with you all later this week. Listen, as I keep saying, it's rough out there, but just keep putting one foot in front of the other. We come from strong stuff, guys. We unfortunately or fortunately, we come from the strongest stuff. Believe it or not, we have gone through worse times. Our people have, and we're the ones that were left with the DNA. So we will get through this and like lean on each other and know you are deserving. Catch y'all next time.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Yeah.